Hi. Welcome to episode 5. We made it to episode 5, believe it or not, of URC Unloaded. Shanks, you look delighted to be here. I'm John Barclay. Stevie Ferris looks somewhat happy. Usually we start off a show with a head coach, but we don't have one this week. So
they're all in Dubai. They've all gone to Dubai. They've got weeks off, haven't they? Well, they've all gone out.
I'm in Dubai next
to the
week.
Palm. Are you?
Yeah, going on Sunday.
What about the autumn? Short break, is it?
Yeah, no, I'm going after the game. Going after the game, then back to the next game.
Business class?
Of course it is, mate.
Class. When the URC Unloaded takes off, busy class.
Anantara, is that right?
Anantara.
Yeah,
You
might have been there.
You didn't start off with a Halloween special, John. What are you dressed as, mate? Is that something? It's not Adam's family, is it?
Every week there's something about my setup that's not right. But I'm a home Shanks, believe it or not. This is home. These are my kids on the wall. So yeah.
Cherish them.
You gotta cherish them, they grow up fast. They grow up fast. Anyway, enough of that nonsense. There wasn't as many games this week because the South African teams were at home. Lucky them after 5 weeks on the road. We can get into it. What did you see? What did you like? We start with Osprey, Shanks. You were doing that one.
Oh, yeah. The big game of that. I mean, it wasn't the most exciting game. The Ospreys didn't score a try, but they found another way to win. 4 from 5 in this block. So, you can't be too disappointed. Munster as well had a couple of big players play from. They had Peter O'Mahony, they had Tag Byrne, they had Diolande come off the bench, as did Conor Murray. But the Ospreys were good, really good defensively. Stephen Myler was a kicking class from him, nailed all his kicks. And you've got to take that, haven't you? Munster away, coming down with a full strength team. Ospreys losing quite a few players internationally and ground out a win. So wasn't a spectacle like we saw Cardiff versus the Dragons, but mate, Toby Booth, Rhys Webb, the captain, should be really happy. And they're only going to get better. They're going to get better. We haven't seen too much from them, so I think they'll improve as the season goes on and find a better attacking style that suits. But defensively, very nice.
Yeah, we've seen very little of them, Shanks. As you said, 8 tries have scored this year in the URC in 5 games, relying heavily on the boot. But I was disappointed with Munster.
Stevie, didn't they look like really weird going? It looked unnatural when they went wide. I thought it just didn't.
So I was chatting to Eddie O'Sullivan, obviously the former Irish coach, a little bit over the last kind of month. And Munster's kind of popped up of general topic of conversation about how they're playing, and they've scored a good few tries. And people think that because you score lots of tries that you must be throwing the ball wide and getting edges and getting around them. And that's not the case with Munster. They've scored so many tries with pick and goes. Again, their maul rely heavily on the dominance of their forward pack. And I know there's a chat that Munster are trying to mix their game up. But yeah, they just didn't look confident in the wide channels at the weekend, and their discipline just was very un-Munster-like. And Myler just kept knocking them over. So yeah, they scraped the win against Connacht. We know there was a dubious referee decision in that game, and then they back it up with another iffy performance, and now they've got a big break to think about things.
The breaks would be nice, wouldn't they? Now 4 weeks off, boys. They will be in Dubai. You'd be loving that if you weren't picked. You'd hate to be in a squad and be some of the bin juice.
Yeah. I know you just follow them on Instagram, don't you? Like Sam Davis and Ben Fry are on holiday somewhere in Spain. They've all Rhys Webb's away. Amazing. Love it.
I was gonna start with Ulster, Steve. I didn't want to get too stuck in too early. So I thought we'd start with a kind of bit of a distraction tactic there with the Ospreys and start off with a positive. But we may as well jump to the Ulster game. I watched it. I didn't watch it live. I watched it today actually on demand, and we're going to get into it now. But they were as poor as we've seen them. We've spoke about it on the show. We didn't know what we were going to get from Ulster because they've played arguably the weaker teams in the league. But you were there the weekend, Stephen. You weren't too pleased with what you saw.
No, it was a worrying performance. I'm taking words out of Paul Scholes' mouth after he sat in studio with Atlanta when Manchester United came back and won 3-2, and he talked about a really poor performance and in the first half, and it was worrying. I tell you what, this game was really worrying for me, like really, really worrying. And I don't think Connacht even played to their best. Their line out was at 70%. Their scrum functioned at 50%. This is straight off a set piece. Porch just gets around the corner. 2 interceptions in the game. Billy Burns didn't perform particularly well. As I said, in the previous few weeks, he's had a real stop-start season. And yeah, the back row, the Connacht lads targeted the breakdown massively. Masterson, Oliver, Paul Boyle. Oliver was actually player of the game. A good 30 carries between them, 10 each roughly. And then you flip it over to Ray and Timoney, who's been the talk of the town up here in Belfast for the first 4 rounds, and Dave McCann as well. Like the 12 carries between them, and one of those players made 6. Like it just, they were so far off the pace, making lots of errors, and they were running around as if they didn't really know what they were doing. And to go back to my earlier point, that's worrying, like, because I did call it a couple of weeks ago saying, look, this is brilliant that Ulster are getting the wins and getting the tries scored and sitting pretty at the top of the table. But there's something just not right, like, you know, especially when Glasgow are going to your home stadiums and scoring 30 points. You know, Benetton won the second half in Belfast. It just seems like they're not firing on all cylinders, and that performance against Connacht, like to lose 36 points to 11, was painful. Like, it was painful for me watching it, but the players on the pitch, they were just looking around, John, for answers, and they didn't have any.
I don't think you should look into stats too much, because a mate of mine, David Flatman, won man of the match before and didn't even touch the ball.
How many penalties did he win at the scrum?
He did loads, like 10 or something like that. Made some massive hits. Not one carry and one man of the match. I'll tell you one thing, Niall Murray can run for a second row. Oh.
Yeah, mental try.
Yeah, that's proper fast as well. Normally you think like second rows are just not cart horses, but you know, there's not much pace to them. But no, he looked really good. What about Stevie? What about the Connacht Colby? We call him that, Mac Hansen.
Mac Hansen, yeah, like he only carried the ball 4 times in the game, like, and 2 of those was to run in big tries. Yeah, and in fairness, Ulster were trying to create something in the last couple of minutes. Like, it turned over at the breakdown. I think it was Conor Oliver once again at the breakdown, and he went the length. But yeah, he's got a bit about him. Like, I was told there at the weekend that he's friends with Andy Friend's son or something like that, and then that's how the connection came about, and that's how he's ended up. A former electrician from Australia is now playing rugby for Connacht and Galway. So yeah, here it's a good story. He's playing really well. He's scoring tries for fun, and he's a bit of a go-to man for Connacht.
They're the best jobs for the boys, isn't it? You know, the one, but you got it like 4 from 5 though. Pretty good, isn't it, or not?
Ulster,
yeah. But you look at who they played. They played Glasgow first up. Then it was Zebre. We know how poor they've been. Benetton and the Lions. So they played. We were at that game. See, they could and potentially should have lost the game to Glasgow. And if it hadn't been the first game of the season, they'd been a bit fitter. Glasgow potentially they would have had them. But yeah, I've looked at them, and all I know about Ulster at the moment, and this will sound harsh, is I know they've got a good maul. You know, that's what I know about them. And you know, we watched that Glasgow game. We said, oh yeah, there's more than one way to skin a cat, and they're winning. But you could see how Glasgow were trying to play, and you couldn't really figure out what Ulster were trying to do. And I'm confused by it, because I know Dan McFarlane, and he's super diligent on how he drills the team, and the teams that I would associate with him are always very organized. But they look like they've got no edge. They had no physicality about them. In a derby at the Aviva was. Yeah, I think you're right. It probably was pretty concerning. I think he'll be pretty concerned about that.
He will be concerned. And like, one thing with Dan is that, you know, his win percentage in interprovincial matches is very poor. Like a 30% win record in the interprovincial matches is really disappointing. And one thing that I always harp on about is stepping up on the bigger occasions. And interpros, as you well know, lads, is definitely a bigger occasion than playing the Lions at your home patch. And again, that's another stat that I'm sure Dan will really not like to see, is that X beside his name when he comes to play against an interprovincial side. So, like, Ulster have had an easy enough run. They've got Leinster away in their next URC game. Then they've got Ospreys away in their next URC, or the game after that, in round 7. And they've Claremont away as well. So 3 away games on the spin. Then Northampton at home. And then they've Connacht at home after that. So, like, the next 5 games are going to be, it could be season defining for Ulster. And that's where the coaches make their money, isn't it, when things get tough?
Can you list any more games they've got? Or is that who just got Who have they got this time next year?
Who's Cardiff got next week?
Good point. Nothing.
Nobody.
Nothing, mate. Nobody. You nearly had me then. I nearly went.
What about Cardiff, Shanks?
Mate,
I thought they were great. Can I stop you before you start and actually say, and this is going to sound really condescending to the Dragons, that's the best I've ever seen them play. Genuinely.
Hold on.
And they're not, but genuine. And I'm like, in terms of like, they've won games, but actually the way they played, the first 2 minutes, they were quality. And the tries they scored, they had a try disallowed in the corner for a collision in the air or a knock in the air. And then in terms of the way they played for 60 minutes was awesome. And then Cardiff got a guy sent off. You think, oh, here we go. Could be Dragons' day. And then it didn't really work out, just lack of game management. But yeah, I would say bizarrely, it's the best I've seen Dragons play in a long time. I'll put it that way.
Did you forget about when the Dragons beat Glasgow and Edinburgh last year in the Principality Stadium, which they were really good? You probably haven't,
Yeah.
Started off really strong, massive carries. The whole back row was really good. Ollie Griff, Harrison Keddy, Ben Fry were brilliant, and kind of on the ropes for a little bit. But Lloyd Williams, he's been so good for the Blues recently. Blues, Cardiff Rugby. If Thomas Williams isn't playing or not involved, Lloyd Williams is just his experience, his game management is really good. And he got them back in with a nice pick and go. The kick over the top with a bit of penalty advantage was good. I thought the Dragons just switched off slightly. The ref had his arm out. This was the red card. Ray Lilo gets carded. Was that 52 minutes? And it was, I don't like to call red cards soft, but I've seen a lot worse. It's a shot which catches Sam Davis quite high, but he has to go because he doesn't lower. And that's the risk you take, isn't it, when you go high? But really good performance from Cardiff to come back and to see it out with 16 men. Jared Evans was a massive plus, I think, because losing Priestland internationally, him coming back after his little injury, I think he had something wrong with his chest. Not sure what, but he was back and he made a big difference. So he was good. Will Boyd, brilliant over the ball. That was probably the biggest thing. The biggest difference in that second half from Cardiff and Dragons was he was winning penalties. And there was no one really from the Dragons that was getting over the ball, that was slowing the play down. And penalties are massive, aren't they? Especially jackal penalties, because they just affect the game so much. Because it turns, attack your defence. You win a penalty, you're then in territory, you then got the ball. So it was huge. But I was worried a little bit because there was none of the big time Charlies playing, none of the big guns, because they were all in Welsh camp. And sometimes you think those games lack a little bit of quality, but leave them.
Do you think Shanks with the Dragons missing Jamie Roberts, that they actually maybe put a little bit more width on their game without him in the team? Like it's the way that they were playing, it felt like they just weren't A1 direct, and Jamie Roberts, he obviously does that very well. You were standing with him in the commentary position or in press position.
Yeah, we're really good mates.
You guys are right now. It was pretty tense.
Yeah, it was tense.
He made up.
he wanted a written apology sent to his house, so I had to write him a letter and say sorry. Just welcome him to Premier Sport. I think it was his first time on this year, so gave him a little bit of stick about being clapped at Lords after Lions 2009. I was just basically talking about what the crowd can do to you.
You're revisiting all the ground even in your apology.
I was just basically telling you how the crowd can affect you as a performance and you're an individual. You know, you feed off that. And I said, you remember when you got the whole stand at Lords stopped, the cricket stopped, and the batsman, and all the players clapped you to say well done on winning Player of the Series 2009. And lucky you didn't bring home the Tour Series. And then I said that Alan Amos could give him a job. Which is you know, that was a big talking point, wasn't it? Alan Amos quitting rugby to be a doctor.
And just on that, Amos, like he's playing really, really well, Shanks. Like he's one of the best players for Cardiff, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. He is doing well. He's versatile as well. So he plays on the wing, plays at 15. He's a massive lump, actually. You know, you guys think I'm big. You know, wait till you stand next to him and you'll see he's big. And he could have been starting against the All Blacks on Saturday, against South Africa, against Australia. You know, he could have been involved in a clean sweep for Wales in the autumn internationals. I'm not saying which way, win or lose, but it'd be one or the other. But he's made his decision. You know, fair play to him. You know, wanting to do what he's doing. So, but I had to give Jamie a little bit of stick because he's a qualified doctor as well, and you know he's not going to do anything with it. I don't think he loves the media too much.
Loves the media. Loves a bit of media.
Just on
anyway, yeah.
I was going to say on the we should get him on. Actually, he'd love that. I'm sure he'd come on, Shanks, would he?
Yeah. He'll have to mute me though. He won't like it. He can promote his book, can't he?
Well, exactly. No such thing as bad advertising or bad publicity. The penalty try for Cardiff, I thought it was harsh.
Yeah.
I don't want to get into the rest.
You boys probably know more of this than me, but it looked like it was going forward. It came from the assistant referee, so it wasn't spotted initially. And I suppose when they come in, it looked like it was going forward. I mean, I was saying they should have gone for posts, and then it's a big call to go to the court. Big call to go to the corner. Then they scored. I was like, oh, made me look like a fool.
Never mind. We don't get it all the time, Shanks. What about your other Welsh team, Scarlets? I watched that game. Pretty good game. Scott Williams was class again. He looks faster. You said look injuries, and he actually looks faster.
His pickup and acceleration for that Dane Blacker try was brilliant. You know, there's life in him yet. But he was good, and he's been called in now to the Welsh squad. I think he personally.
All thanks to you two lads. All thanks to you two lads, because you've been licking his backside for the last 4 weeks.
Keep pumping the fires.
Yeah, I know. I know he's a good. I know he's not like, but I haven't. He's a good player, but I don't think he's shown enough over his career to be starting against the All Blacks.
Well, he's had plenty of caps. Scored a winning try against England, ripped the ball off Courtney Laws. I really rate him. And if any players are watching this, you know, what we can do for you is incredible. You know, we can get you into the national setup, no problem. We'll just have to come to some sort of agreement about what we get in return. But he's in, so that's good. But Scarlets, you know, they should have won that game by more, but they just ended up shooting themselves in the foot. Angus O'Brien threw an intercept pass when there was absolutely no need. But the best thing about the game was the Thomas Gaggio try. Now, this is brilliant from a prop as well, you know, from 40 meters out. You don't often see props doing this, do you? There's only a certain type that can do it. And we'll have a look at this. I mean, John, talk us through it.
Wheels. Rob Evans. Rob Evans always having for dinner that night, and then he's straight. It's just wheels, just gas. It's mental finish for a big lump as well, running at smaller men at the end who didn't seem that keen on it, but
no, I know. But
nice try.
The in and out as well is good, isn't it? You know, he goes in and fades out.
I was impressed.
Johan
He scored another one, didn't he?
Yeah, I think so.
Nice pick and go try.
Yeah, pick and
No,
go.
I
Wasn't
thought
quite as nice as
Benetton.
that.
Yeah, Benetton hung in there. Like, I know we chatted to Marco Bordolami last week about their conditioning and their mindset and their game plan, but like they got 2 points out of that. They got a bonus point try. Correct me if I'm wrong, and they came within 7. So like going away to Wales and returning back to Italy with 2 points, I think is a huge positive for them. Like Scarlets should have won the game by 15 or 20 points more than Benetton, but again, I think it's shown over the last 5 weeks that the league is certainly more competitive. It feels like each week the results are getting tighter. Connacht bringing that huge upset against Ulster, the really close Welsh derby. It's just Zebre are falling behind a little bit. And I know, John, you're maybe going to talk about the South African teams and where they stand, but I think at the minute the league's in a really good place.
Yeah, I just watched that game, and I know Scarlets won, but they still conceded 28 points at home. And they should have won the game by more. And they would just be happy after getting 2 big old dust-ups against Munster and Leinster just to get a win and almost just take that. But something they're not going to go anywhere with the defence that's leaking. I think they're about 130 points in 3 games or something.
Did you see at the end of the game, like the scrum half kicked it? I know it was his first cap, a youngster, but they go through one more phase. They can kick the ball out. It's kept in field, and Benetton are coming right back out at them. But for some reason, one of the Benetton players ends up kicking the ball, the clock was in red and the game was blown up there. So they're a little bit lucky in that aspect, but they'd be massively pleased to take that win because they were right up against it this week. Anyway, Leinster played Glasgow, John. I know you're desperate to talk us through this. Decent game from Glasgow?
Decent game, yeah, but just comfortable from... never really looked like winning the game. Leinster just too good. It's the same story every week. It's just a bit boring. It's just no one's really got close to them yet. Kelleher was brilliant. He was special. Hugo Keenan played well. Glasgow defence was probably the biggest. The biggest. I know Leinster got a great attack, but Glasgow's defence was almost looking to contain rather than win the ball back when you got a hooker doing. And it looks great. If you're a hooker, you're delighted. If you're Glasgow, hookers.
What about this? Like we've got a hooker and a prop scoring the 2 best tries of the week.
Game's moved on.
There's chat in the Irish camp that Paul O'Connell and the coaching staff really like Rob Herring just because his line out throwing is so accurate. And of course, even look at the Ulster Maul and the amount of tries that he scores. He is very accurate thrower. But Kelleher, the way he carries the ball, up the touchline there, ball transfer into the other hand, fend. I just don't think Rob Herring has that in his locker. I think Rob Herring's more of a short pass off 9, get a couple of yards around the corner type of player, puts in good hits. He's not too bad over the ball, but Kelleher is serious athlete.
Scalp Brits, isn't he? Scalp Brits.
Yeah.
With a bit more grunt though, I'd say. I watched it. He's been brilliant all year. Because he was on the lines, wasn't he? And then just brought in kind of to train, but then brought over to South Africa as well.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, strange one, really, but I don't know what you guys think. Is line out set piece that important at international level? Where if Ronan Kelleher misses 2 lineouts and Rob Herring doesn't miss any, do you need Kelleher's ability to beat people with ball in hand, or does that not really matter because you've got 14 other lads on the pitch that can possibly do that? You know what I mean? I think
set piece. I reckon has to be number 1,
and that's why Rob Herring has started a lot more games.
Yeah. I just think you've got all the best guys. They're going to create a lineup that's there's ways to win the ball, and Leinster are going to win the ball in certain spots where they can't win it. But I don't know what that was.
I was just looking. It's just shouting. They're just shouting. Okay, there's fighting.
Was that a chapter of Jamie Roberts' book playing audiobook?
What, white noise? Yeah, it's the whole of it. Joking, get it? It's really good.
Yeah, really good book. Yeah,
good return. One of his mentors. But we talked a lot about Leinster, what they were good. Like Hugo Keenan has it all, I think. Just quickly, Steve, is he brave? Is he good defensively for not for Leinster, but for the big occasion for Ireland?
I think he is, Shanks. I think he's.
Oh, I was going to say, you thought about it.
No, I think he is. There's been loads of question marks over the back three for Ireland over the last 3 or 4 seasons. One of those guys being Jacob Stockdale, one of the other ones being Jordan Larmour, and Simon Zebo's now back in there. And I think Hugo Keenan is a quality operator. Like, he works his absolute socks off. You see him all the time. His hands are on his hips. He's gasping for air because he's covering that backfield so well. He's so solid in the air as well under the high ball. Not a bad kicking game. He's got gas as well. We know he comes from a sevens background, but he seems to have an engine that just keeps on going. And yeah, I think Simon Zebo will get a bit of game time during the autumn internationals, but he's definitely not number one. And I think Hugo Keenan is a quality player, and defensively he's pretty sound. We all make mistakes, and back three players, when they get caught one-on-one, you're going to get isolated from time to time. That's going to happen to him, but like, we got to remember, he's not long into the 15s game either. He's still learning his trade, and I think he'll have a really good autumn internationals and bounce on into the Six Nations.
That's just too good, though. What I mean, all I can think of is, I can't think of anything else, that you have to bring in a salary cap. I don't understand how they've got the most. I was looking there, that the guys they brought on, they started with Doris, Levy, Cohen in the back row, and then they brought on Ruddock, Van der Fleer, and brought on Toner to replace Bear. They brought on Alatoa to replace Furlong. Like, the guys they're bringing, they're just bringing on Gibson, Parker, Tim McGrath. Like, Sexton wasn't playing, and then you look at Glasgow
against Zebre. They are a week or two before, there was Zebre, and 14 of the 15 lads that were playing were in the Ireland squad. I think it was only Maloney, the second row, that wasn't. So, like, serious squad. And the thing I like about it is Leo Cullen's not scared to use it, and he shifts it around every single week. I know in his chat with Rob Carney and Big Jim after the match, he was talking about how important it is to use the squad. And even over the next couple of weeks, they're playing some A games, and he'll just keep rotating guys and giving lads opportunity. So yeah, it's a well-oiled machine down in Leinster, that's for sure, isn't it?
John, what about finishing like this rugby chat with a bit of positive stuff from Zebre Edinburgh? Eh?
Game of the weekend.
Got my vote.
Yes, my vote every time.
I haven't watched it.
Yeah, not great. Zebre just seem at a complete loss for how they're trying to play the game and trying to run the ball from everywhere still. A bit rudderless, and Edinburgh did just about enough to win. We saw it the week before. Shanks with Glasgow went over there and just almost a non-event really, which is a bit of a shame. But Zebre really struggling. You can't. I think we said last week, almost struggling to see where they're going to pick up a win this season potentially. Maybe a break comes at a good time for them. Maybe they go on tours to South Africa and have a bit of crack together. But I don't know. I can't see where
I've not seen the game, but I'm going to guess here now. Ben Vellacott scored.
I actually can't remember. Probably.
I'm just joking. I'm just joking. I got up here. Scored on the 81st minute.
Did he? Did he?
No.
He come off the bench?
Yeah, he did. But what a player he's been so far for Edinburgh. Who else played that? A lot of the big Scotland players played, which, considering they got Tonga this weekend, normally, you have a couple of weeks rest. But Jamie Ritchie played, didn't he? Kinghorn played.
Yeah.
So they pretty much went full strength, near enough.
It was fine. Still, again, don't really know that much about Edinburgh yet. And in a good spot, one, in the league sitting pretty pretty, but still, I think, like you say, you find that more when you get into, December, January, February, when who can grind out wins, who's gonna have it. But at the moment, I can't see anyone being Leinster. I can't see
Europe
being anyone.
Europe can make or break as well, can't it? Like, you can either take loads of confidence from this next block of European rugby, or you get hammered and then you start the URC again, like with zero confidence. So,
hey ho,
we'll see.
We'll soon see.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's enough of the rugby, well, kind of for a rugby show. But anyone got a rant this week? We're going to move on to that section, which we do every week, and the refs have been taking an absolute hammering the last couple of weeks. Anyone got anything?
Not rant, but I had to think about it, and we've seen it a couple of times from a couple of players in the league in England. Why haven't we seen someone in the URC wearing tights yet?
Yeah, I've got it written down here. That was my rant, Shanks. Leggings.
Why we haven't seen it? We saw it from Johnny May, and we also saw it from Max Malins. Like, what's going on? We need someone to wear. Like, who do you think would be the first from each country now? Who do you think would be the first player to wear?
Ian Madigan.
Yeah, didn't even hesitate.
Jimmy Roberts.
Duan van der Merwe, he'd definitely chuck him on.
Yeah.
Would he?
Oh yeah.
Is he a bit precious, John? Is he?
He's just got nice skin. He wants to look after it. He's in good shape. Doesn't want any
moisturised.
Yeah, likes the moisturize, a bit like Bob Skinstad. None of the Scottish boys, I don't think. Blair Kinghorn would probably chuck him on, and Adam Hastings, they'd probably do it together.
Yeah.
One pair of leggings.
You'd have tartan ones as well, wouldn't you, to be different, to be Scottish?
It had to be someone. Did Zamet wear them? No,
I don't think he did. I'm not sure. I don't think he did. But it's a lot of them. It's got to be for the plastic pitcher's mind as well, isn't it?
Yeah. Would you ever have worn them, Shanks?
Would I ever have worn them?
Yeah.
I don't think so. No, I used to hate wearing like compression gear. I don't know what you bought. I used to hate having you'd have to have strapping, but I used to hate it. Like I used to hate having anything on my arm, like wrists or anything like that, or having an undergarment on. I was old school. I just wanted like a rugby shirt and boots, gum shoe, and heart. That's all you need. And your ankle strapped. And your ankle strapped. It's important to get your ankle strapped because once you roll them, it's horrific pain, isn't it? Do you know what? That was the most stressful thing I reckon on game day would be where you are on the strapping list.
Oh, I used to pull rank there. When you get to it, I used to pull rank by the end because I had so much to get done, and I used to hate being last in the list.
Yeah,
put your name right at the top.
You want to get your name at the top. You want to be strapped, and then you can relax, can't you? Then you can get yourself changed. You can read the program. You can just, whilst if you're last on the list, you're just waiting and waiting and waiting.
I've got another rant. I had a rant at the weekend. It just reminded me of when I used to play, and you actually might be able to shed some light on the Shanks. Because two players did it the weekend. James Lowe did it, and Jared Evans did it. Marking the ball when they're under no pressure and the forwards are in the middle of the pitch. I don't know why they do it. And then all the forwards got to run back, and then you've got to leg it up after the kick again. It used to drive me nuts, and they're doing it. I don't understand why.
I don't know when Jared did it. I can't remember. I should have done because it's coming in the game, but it might have been because there'd been a red card to try and slow it down because 14 men against 15 maybe. But people do it anyway.
Crap.
Naturally, don't they?
Yeah, I didn't really
do it often. He's a serial marker. So he is. He would do it quite often, yeah.
Get out of the game. I didn't really have a rant. That was me kind of clutching at straws.
Well done, John.
Yeah. Good weekend. Well done, everyone.
Good, yeah, well done. We've got a few weeks off, so maybe we'll come back with some rants from the autumn rugby, maybe. Yeah. Or just whatever you think of, really, in your spare time. Next up, we've got the Fashion Police. Shanks, you had one from the weekend?
There can only be one. Like, everyone's really up their game because they all watch the show, and it's the number one online streaming show. But this is, what's the bloke doing? There's 3 coats there.
None of them fit him.
That third coat will only fit him if he's got another coat underneath it. Like, if you put that on with a jumper, it'd be massive. He looks like remember Friends when Joey wears all of Chandler's clothes? That's what he looks like. He can't move. He was like James Haskell, like speaking, like this. It was so thick, but
the thing is, it wasn't even that cold.
But why put so much effort into putting all those coats up top when you can lose just as much heat from your lower half and he's got a pair of like 30-year-old jeans on.
What you want?
I just didn't get it.
Salapets or something next week.
Yeah, well, exactly that. But yeah, I just thought it was a bit over the top, really.
We all know Jim's a little bit different, though, don't we?
Doogie Vipon had a tweed blazer on, like he was going to Cheltenham. So
It's hard.
I couldn't tell whether it's hot or just mild.
One of the two, somewhere in the middle, maybe. Jim got it wrong anyway. Maybe someone will come up next week. The next couple of weeks, we'll find some more of those. But presenter's choice. I don't know what these are. So as always, there's 3 unknown topics, which are hopefully going to come up on the screen, and it's my turn to choose which one I want. Ooh, best player you played with. Worst moment of your. I start crying here. Best team holiday or party. I'm drawn to the middle one, but it's maybe just I'm miserable. What do you fancy? Unless anyone got a good story on best team holiday or party?
Yeah.
Yeah, but maybe not sharing it online.
Oh.
Well, I said yeah, and I've just teed it up now to fail, haven't I? Because it's probably not even funny. But you think of some like the massive like drinks you've had. We went to Lanzarote for a pre-training camp in 2003. Have you been there? Club La Santa? Any boys been there?
Yeah.
And Steve Anson was a coach, and he was quite new to coaching Wales, and probably didn't quite get the culture straight away. And we trained really hard for like 5 days, and then he allowed us one night out. So we went into the main town there in Lanzarote, and he gave us like an hour and a half. Said, right, we're back on the bus. It's like 8:30, back on the bus at 10. Thinking that we couldn't do too much damage. But every single player in that squad near enough ended themselves. We're in dentist chairs. We just went for it as hard as we could for an hour and a half. And then we got back, and there was stuff being dripped down the front of the bus. I was down the front trying to do the music for everyone, and there was liquid coming down. I hope it was beer. And then we got back into the reception, and Gethin Jenkins was sick all over the floor in the middle of reception. It was a nightmare. Everyone got hammered. And then the next day in training, we finished training, and he separated everyone. He said, right, those that messed up, those that didn't have breakfast, those that were sick last night, those that drank way too much, stand over there. And the ones that, were pretty, looked after themselves, you stand to the other side. And I was right. I didn't mess up. So I stood on that side. And he made all of the ones that were good do all of the fitness, and all of the boys that were sick or didn't have breakfast or had a massive hangover, watch, thinking it would have a real good effect.
It's perfect, though. You're happy days if you're that group.
I wish I'd gone mad. So from that instance, yeah, I just hit it hard then. Every team social.
It's hard to beat a team social. Like way back, Simon Daniele was playing for Ulster. The Adonis that is Simon Daniele. And we were on a stag do in Marbella. It was for a second row guy called Ryan Caldwell. And 30 lads rocked up to Marbella, went into the team hotel, and within 5 hours, we didn't have a hotel. The police came and kicked us out. Just because there was 30 big lads, they just decided to kick us out. Not that we were getting up to any mischief. So then we went looking for a hotel, ended up finding a hotel, and I was sharing with Neil Best and Rory Best and Roger Wilson. And that night, Roger Wilson and Neil Best had a massive scrap outside. Well, it wasn't really a massive scrap. It was just a bit of fisticuffs, drunken behaviour. And Bestie busted his nose, and Rog got the better of him, and it was all good crack. And then we woke up the next day, and I was lying on my bed, and I was completely saturated. And I was like, "What the fuck? I've wet the bed here or something." And then Bestie gets up with his nose sideways, and he goes, "Oh mate, I pissed all over you last night." And I was like, "Oh my god!" and then we get thrown out of that hotel because of the mattress. Like, so I just booked the flight. Actually got an infection in my foot swelled up. I booked the flight. Rory Best said, "Baby, what flight did you book?" I said, "This one." He says, "Stuff it, I'm going with you." So me and him bailed and got a flight straight to the airport and home. So it was good crack, but yeah, it was one that I woke up a little bit smellier than I went to bed.
That's easy, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm trying to think.
Yeah, John.
The best night out. Yeah, there was a few in Wales which can't really get into too much. We had a night in Glasgow. We played. I think it was Zebre or Parma. Maybe when they were Parma back in the day. I think that's what it was. Anyway, we're in Italy, and big court session. We finished at 2 PM. They're bringing out all the what's not Zambuca. What do they have over there that's similar? It's Ouzo, all this, and the boys are getting torn into it. Basically, a night turned into boys in the cells. We got you can't go home. You know, like in Italy, you just can't get home. You're always stuck. And me and Ryan Wilson, if you know Ryan, he can sort of get a bit carried away, and basically ended up couldn't get home. So Ryan decided to lie in the middle of a sort of dual carriageway on the floor. Like after a few beers, we get picked. Our car pulls over, and we're like, "Here we go!" Police straight in the back of the police van. Ryan manages to get out of the police car and make it later. They eventually get us back to the hotel. They're quite understanding at this point, but in the meantime, other boys have been put in jail just for being idiots, trashing the place. One of the boys broke into a Suzuki Swift and slept in the boot of a car and was found in the morning by the owner. And we were never allowed to go back again. And the worst thing was we got back to the hotel and tried to. I think it was maybe 1 AM. The police took us back and was like, right, wait, went straight back out again, lads. And fast forward 4 hours, we're doing the exact same thing on the exact same road, trying to get a taxi, and the exact same policeman pick us up again, and held a taser to us. So then we went home. Was the end. Go on, do it. Yeah. Bet you won't.
You reminded me on a court session. The best one I've had was again after the World Cup in 2003. Wales got knocked out in the quarterfinals against England, and we didn't expect to get so far. And Kerry Sweeney had booked a holiday with his wife for the quarterfinals, and because we got through to the quarterfinals, he had to cancel his holiday, and we all found out. So for the court session, we covered him in fake tan and put a rubber ring round him. He had to dress like that for the whole day. I was called Sloth on that tour, and I have no idea why. So I had to wear a Superman t-shirt and have a sword. And before I spoke, I had to say, "Hey, you guys," every single time. It was the worst one. I don't know why. I don't think I look like him much, but no. I do like Baby Ruth's.
Hey, you guys.
And the worst thing was I've never had so much like chat against me in any of my playing career, because one of the papers did the ugliest 15 in the World Cup, and I was on there.
Ugliest? You wouldn't get away with that now. Murray Lowe was in there. I think he was captain.
And every time I tried to speak,
get away with that now, like, would you?
Every time I tried to speak, they would just start singing "UGLY, you ain't got no alibi," and I didn't even have a voice. I didn't even have a voice. But you know, it's character building, yeah. And I turned out all right. Live in a shed.
Exactly, loaded. Before we get in trouble, Autumn Nations coming up next. I know that's not on Premier, but any thoughts on? I guess on your respective nations and players to watch out for, what your expectations in a nutshell?
I think we've got to win. I think Wales have got to win at least 2 from 4. So it's New Zealand, probably not going to win that. South Africa, Australia, Fiji, not in that order. So I definitely think 2 from 4 will be successful. Don't forget, we are Six Nations champions at the moment. Although we didn't win the Grand Slam, we're still probably the best Northern Hemisphere team at the moment. So I think 2 from 4 definitely. Doesn't get any harder than the first game up against New Zealand, mind. You know, they're coming in cold, aren't they, off a pretty poor rugby championship and a little warm-up game against Australia. They put over 100 on them. So, but here's a question quickly, just before we get into where would you rather play New Zealand, at the start of the autumn campaign or at the end?
Were you missing players or with all your squad?
That wasn't the
That wasn't the question. That was my question.
No.
Would I rather play them? Probably at the end.
Surely the end.
Yeah, they'll be thinking about
Surely
again.
they're going to be going out and nights out and having beers, and they get fatigued, pissed off, can't wait to get back home again. So yeah, probably last game for me.
All right. Well, Gareth Anscombe, I'm hoping he performs. He's my player to look out for Wales. John, you've got Scotland Tonga this Saturday. No game for Ireland, is there?
No.
Scotland Tonga, missing lots of players. But then I don't think Tonga, they won't get their players released. So I don't even know what their squad is at the moment. It's not been released at all. Their Twitter was last updated in 2019. So I'm not getting much from that. So I don't know. Scotland will win that. They should win it comfortably. And then they've got Australia, South Africa, Japan. So I think you got to realistically, you got to be thinking you got to get 3 wins there. But it'll be tough. But a player I'm most looking for, and it's probably not, it's a bit boring in a way, but Finn Russell. Don't really ever get bored of watching him play. He was class for the Lions albeit it was only 65 minutes. And I kind of just want to see what the Scotland team's about. You know, eight Lions who went away. And that, you know, unheard of in recent generations. So I know the tour did.
John, just on Scotland, what's the word coming out of the camp? Obviously, Gregor Townsend took huge flack around the Lions tour because they didn't play any expansive rugby and like he was in charge of their attack. But I suppose at the end of the day, Warren Gatland had the final say on team tactics. But what's the word coming out of the camp in terms of like what he's like as a coach? Does he want to play this expansive game, this high tempo, keep the ball alive, or is it just a myth? Because you know, during we didn't actually see any of that.
I would assume that he would want to play a similar brand of rugby with, you know, that he tries to play. His DNA hasn't changed much from when he first came in. It was all about attack, and then the World Cup was super disappointing, and then they went far too conservative, and then they found a nice blend. But the Lions was disappointing. So I think the word I've heard coming out is that there was some friction there around how they were trying to play the game. Ultimately, it was Warren Gatland's team, so I wasn't there. So these could be Chinese whispers, but look, I think Scotland they'll benefit from that tour. The guys who played, I think for Lions, you know, played pretty well. The guys who got a chance. So yeah, look, I don't know. I'm looking forward to playing the crowds and all that stuff at Murrayfield. 3 from 4 for Scotland. I think that's going to be the number.
Ireland, what about them, Stevie?
Yeah, Japan first up, 6th November. 1 o'clock kickoff, actually. Yeah, all the kickoffs are early afternoon, which is good. Japan up first, and then we have New Zealand, and then we have Argentina who are coming over. So you would expect like they'll be sitting in camp talking about winning 3 out of 3, and they were supposed to have that game over against the USA, and that was all cancelled a couple of months back. So preparation is straight into camp, and then Japan up first. So you would like to think that to beat Japan, there'd be lots of changes. A few guys might get an opportunity. There's a couple of lads, Thomas O'Hearn from Munster. He's in the wider training squad. Jamie Osborne for Leinster. He's in the wider training squad. But like if those lads went really well, they might like nudge their way in for the Argentina game to get on the bench, something like that. So I think there's so much opportunity in this Irish squad to get a cap or 2 in its autumn internationals, but you can be damn sure come the All Blacks in a couple of weeks, there was actually an article written down south that there could be 15 Leinster players starting for Ireland, and I think there's going to be a large amount. You look at loosehead, hooker, tight head, second row, probably James Ryan, and in the back row, all Leinster as well. scrum half. So it's
Gatland did that
funny
with Wales
that.
before. Gatland did that with Wales before. England 2008 picked 13 Ospreys.
That's
or
right.
Horses,
Yeah.
whatever you want to call it. And he couldn't pick 15 because they had Nicky Walker on the wing and Marty Holler at 7 for the Ospreys. Otherwise he would have gone the full on.
Did they win?
Wow, a couple of Cardiff players come off the bench just after half time. Changed the game, apparently. I don't know.
Oh, so it's going to be good. It's exciting, but it's back to full houses in the Aviva Stadium as well. Obviously, the COVID restrictions in the south of the border have been a lot different. So, back to full houses. And, can't wait for it to kick off.
Okay. Looking forward to it. We'll be back in 4 weeks. Back to the URC.
Yeah.
We've already touched on the fact that Leinster are cruising at the top. And we spoke in the first couple of weeks more about how the South African teams would struggle, and then kind of made everyone realise that we don't really know what we're talking about because they started to play some class rugby. Obviously, the guys are going to have to tour South Africa. Anything you're looking forward to about that when it kicks off again in November?
Bulls Munster, I think, will be a really good game. And then you've got the Bulls Scarlets. I'm looking forward to seeing all of them and how they react at home, because it's been tough for them away, and they've all of them bar one have picked up away win. I don't think the Lions have. So it'd be interesting to see how they can, if they play any better, if home advantage makes a big difference for them, because we've seen glimpses of how good they are. But
will they have the internationals back then?
Yeah, after the autumn. Yeah.
So that'll be impressive.
Yeah, they'll be stronger. They're going to get stronger as this goes along. We didn't know how long it was going to take, and I think we saw after sort of third week. 2 weeks actually.
Really good.
They got the hang of this rugby lark.
Yeah, they're really smart. They really switched on. The Stormers for me, the team of the sort of the pick of the bunch in South Africa. Yeah, you look at the games. I'm not quite sure which ones play altitude. Actually, I probably should know that. The Bulls is definitely altitude, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I don't know the
Stormers constantly.
The Sharks aren't. I know that. And
the Lions are at altitude.
So that'll be
Stormers at Cape Town. That's flat.
Yeah, so not that big of an influence from altitude. But yeah, it'd be awesome. Like looking forward to seeing them play. See any changes when they get over there? I think it's going to flip on its head. I reckon we're going to see a complete flip in results over there. I reckon that you almost see the South African teams winning the majority of their games over there.
Yeah,
I wonder who's reffing. Is it going to be South African refs or is it going to be a neutral ref that are flying out and reffing over there? It's above my pay grade. It's above my pay grade, mate.
Yeah, we had South African refs over here, so you'd assume they'll have to, won't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's slightly different referee interpretation, isn't it, in Southern Hemisphere, especially around the breakdown.
But even when the Cheetahs and the Kings were in the Pro 14, like not so much the Kings, but the Cheetahs, like Ulster, Leinster putting 30, 40 points on them at home and then going away and getting it tight. So yeah, I think it's going to be even harder for these Northern Hemisphere teams in the URC to go down there and get a result. So yeah, it's only good for the competition, and I like to see it.
I'd love to be going out there. I'd love to be going over there for 2 weeks.
Colin Stafford, come on, let's get this sorted out. Get the boys in the plane. We're going over. We need an end of season trip. What do you reckon, lads?
I'll be keen.
I can see him offline. He's nodding his head like this.
That or Ibiza, one of the two.
There we go.
Unless anyone's got anything else, I think that's about all we have time for on week 5 of URC Unloaded. We're back in a couple of weeks, like we said, for the next round of action from the United Rugby Championship. Until then, I'm going to go and buy Jamie Roberts' book. No, I'm not.
I'm going to the gym. I'm going to go to the gym.
Are you?
Yeah, it's part of life. Love a workout. Healthy body, healthy mind.
Get rid of the drum. We'll see you
soon. Steve, where are you off? Steve, where are you off?
I'm off to get my dinner. Yeah, I'm having a bit of halloumi, chicken, rice, just
healthy.
Healthy-ish. So yeah. Until next time, lads. Until next time.
Stevie's halfway.